Hello. This video we're going to look at Surrealkv, standing for key value. It's an embedded database that you can embed within your Rust project. And I think what I'll do is I'll do this video backwards, really. I'll show you what I've built, and we'll do some research on it after. So this is just 3 examples using getting used to OS. Right, let's look at. I'll just show you how big the binary is, because I think that's kind of almost the key thing here, because it's very, very small. I think it's about, I've done it with some of the compile options to make the binary smaller. And Surrealkv 766 KB. So that's the Rust project with a and of Surrealkv database. When you run it, I'll actually run it. Bash. It's run there, and it's literally just that binary. So if I move that, let's copy it to desktop. Copy Surrealkv to. We'll look at the technical reasons to use it and reasons maybe not to use it. So if I run it from here, you see at the moment it's just that one file on my it's run, and it's built. These are the 2 here. So it's built manifest log. But obviously, if you I don't know if we'll know this. Apologies if you do, but that binary, obviously, if you try and run it just with binary name, your shell, I'm using sh, but bash, you wouldn't find it. On most sort of Ubuntu type distros, or Op OS, if I just do sudo cp, this is my binary. So whatever you build in Rust, you can just copy it to user bin, put in your password for sudo. Right, and then you don't need to do the // so I could. Apologies if you already know that, but yeah, sometimes it's worth just writing rather than kind of what I used to do with maybe Bash or Python. You can just do with Rust and just put it in your user bin directory, and it's always there. I wrote something the other day. Effectively, it was async Python, because it's a binary. You just put it in user bin, and anyway, Surrealkv. So if we go back to, that's such a good navigation CD -2. I don't know if I can do -3. Good, yeah. It builds like a stack of your change directory history. Right, so let's go and look at the code. So if you're not familiar with embedded databases, basically it means you get a database compiled inside or compiled into your binary or your other code. I worked for a manufacturing company years ago and had some third-party software written, and then there was this thing called Flash Filer. There was this little database lightning icon, and yeah, I didn't know anything about it back then, and obviously it was just like one extra thing that failed or that could get out of sync or store. Yeah, why wouldn't you want everything under one roof, so to speak? Obviously there are reasons. So quick and dirty test of Surreal. Hopefully this is a nice big font, even if you're watching on a phone, because to be fair, when people first said, "Oh, made the font big," because I watched on my phone, But well, not really. But a few years later, I do sometimes watch stuff on my phone. Right, third day, serialize. That's because we're going to use a struct. So key value. When I first ran this, I had an error. I just scrolled down. I'll show you. So I was trying to set the key and the values. Set, which is method action. It's telling me it wanted array key and an array for the value, and I thought that's quite strict. Obviously, I knew that wasn't. But I did 3 examples. So first example was that one we just saw. Second one was actually used key and a string as a value, and the third one was struct. So those key values store, you pass the entire struct value. So that's, hopefully you've all seen that before. This should path buff. Basically, it allows you to get a string. I haven't really used it, but it would go in there. So if you're writing something hard code the path, you rather than it being treated as a string, it becomes actual operating system path, which you can then pull apart. So it's quite handy. Really unique, and you can see handle the errors better than operating system path rather than alpha characters. This is what I got from. So I got the isolation level. I don't. The options and store were with the crate and the cargo crate documentation, but this is what I used to get it working. And the options, bit of I thought I was doing okay, and I thought I was just starting to kind of basically copy what I'd done when I'd used Surrealkv, the big version, actual database. So let DB store new. I think when you're using Surreal, the actual Surrealkv, and then just unwrap because you get result, obviously. But this is just a test. So yeah, you'd match, or even if you didn't want to use match, you'd use vect and text in. I actually I don't use it vect very much. I'm trying to do things properly. Yeah, and I used unwrap there, which is right. So the imports struct, which is going to be a value later on in the code. I use Tokyo, so it's asynchronous, but async. It returns, going to return a result of type Surrealkv. I put a comment in here. I guessed these option values. So this was a bit of not a bolt from the blue, but I wasn't really expecting to have to set all this up. But I did. Didn't like it, but I did. It worked. Path, which I'm just telling it to use the same path as wherever the binary is. That's why when I moved Surrealkv to my desktop, that's why I then had the manifest clog, the clog. The isolation level, don't know what that is. I'll use that in future, possibly. Max key size 1024. Right, max value size. That felt fairly self-explanatory. Value threshold, I don't know what that is. Segment size, cache. Guess what? That I increased that, but because it didn't compile with I didn't quite know what to put in, so I just got ChatGPT to make me up some dummy values. I got the struct from the cargo documentation. I passed that in the ChatGPT. Said make up some deep values. I think it put in something like 500,000 file for some reason. So I just increased that and it did file. So feel free to copy these settings. They do work. They do file. So just want to get going and then obviously fine tune it later. So these options are needed when you create a new store. So there we go. We've got the and then I called this con. I don't know whether this is practice or not, but I just said con equals db, and then I just did stop. So somebody spotted the other day that my dropped or my auto suggestions methods weren't working. I looked on my other laptop and they were. So I don't know. I copied. I had a couple of things in my Vim plugins. Show you. So I'm just going off a tangent here, but it's probably back to the. I had. No, I thought I comment. Oh, I had something in playing like stopping auto suggestions. You know, like the drop. Anyway, that's enough about NeoVim because I know some VS Code, some people Rust Rover. I'd be interested to use Rust Rover, but I don't want to start paying subscriptions. Is it subscription only? So we create a connection. Connection set, got set and get. So there's no query in RealDB. You would obviously use SQL to query. This is more set, get, pass. Set here we're setting key of 9 in the value of 42. And we do get, and we're passing in key, which is 9, and it returns 2. Turns an OK or an error result. So then it's a vec of 8 options thing. That's kind of handling a result. So this is a bit more interesting. So here is where we're actually passing in a string, and we set a key. Again, the key I'm just using. That's a probably want to increase that because you 5 lines in your database. String slice. So the string slice will become the value, but you need to convert it to bytes. So value got as bytes. So we see it as text, but we store it as bytes, telling it maybe just bytes. When we retrieve it, we'll do string from, so we get it as bytes and then convert it back into a string, print it. So go one way, we're going as bytes, and then to get it back, we go from you to string from. Then this is just match, so just result equal. So when you do your insert, when you do your get, that it set is like your right, get is kind of we get result, and we just did match OK. So we could get an OK of some, and we could get an OK of none. That's not really an error. It's just that you do get a real error. Then that's I've not really used this. OK some, OK none, error. Normally I just So, okay, some, okay, none. Bit of an unusual pattern, but it works. You might find that sometimes with databases, you see stuff that you don't code. Surreal documentation's a good example of that because nearly everything I do doesn't really use lifetime. I'm not quite advanced enough lifetimes, and I don't write libraries from scratch. I use libraries, write them, and station anyway. I expect if you're familiar with Surreal, you know what I'm on about. It's the standard um standard thing with database where you're doing the a lifetime. Let's do the SDK, wasn't it? Rust SDK. Uh, Probably should have done that to start with. I apologise. It's not a criticism. I don't really, I don't want to criticize anyone or anything really because all this is effectively free. I know you're not with this. This is like an MIT license. Not, don't think if you were at a data center, I don't think you can deploy servers for free. But RealDB, you can pretty much use for free. Amazing. That's obviously standalone. I think if you cloud off. Here we go. This is what I was on about. So, yeah, so that's the proper database. That's the big database. What we're using, KV one. So we use different Surrealkv. Yeah, the other difference was store in key value. Yeah, the lifetimes. Because it's a database and you're reading it, and there's no point kind of uh, passing it by value. You just borrow it. So you need to be sure that values live as long as the structs. They have the same life. You don't want to be trying to use a value after the. Right, where did we get to? I think I got down as far as the final example. So there's three. I'll put this code in the list in the public on the again. Okay, error string. So third one is struct user ag. So the user key. Again, that can be a string. So the first two examples, slightly more realistic. We'll have user colon one. That's known as a thing. I think. No, in Surreal, it's where you have ID and then table name thing. So then we're going to just do serde JSON to string. We're going to convert serialize the struct string. Once it's a string, you can then convert the string bytes, last bytes e, which was a string slice, so as bytes. So if you're going to start using the Surrealkv, you will start getting used to using bytes quite, and also do string from string and from UTF and from string. Just good practice, really. I'll probably try and see how much of this I can remember tomorrow, and then after. There's a curve of retention of, I think if you do something once, you remember about 10%. You do it a second time, you remember maybe 25%. Do it a third time, and you remember, don't quote me on this, but something like 50%. So it's quite a good curve for the extra time you do something. Really, again, okay, some, okay, none, error. I think this is quite a good sort of, probably a good thing to get used to as well with database, because you can have some which is okay, you can have none which is okay. Got two lots of okay. It's kind of, you're combining kind of some and none with okay, error. Obviously that's like an option, some and none. Option, okay with options. Obviously options are just one option. Right, that is that's the code. I've kind of talked enough through that. Let's look more. What was I going more at? Let's look more at some kind of reasoning. Just before I do that, sorry for jumping around. Let me show you the cargo toml. This is still kind of a novelty to me, coming from a sort of a Python background, and cargo toml is just. I know Python's going that way with pyproject.toml. You can look at this and you can almost kind of guess what the program does almost. I don't know why I put clap in there. I didn't. This. So Surrealkv, that's the name. That's what the binary name filed. And not what I called the project when I started. Can come and rename your project after you. But yeah, be careful. That's 0.6. That must be the latest one because I did cargo add. So I didn't just. So you with cargo, you can either do cargo add or copy and paste the versions. Let's just have a look at the cargo toml code. Yeah, so I think Tokyo version. Anyway, this is the interesting bit. Opt level equals Z. Optimize size. You remember the size has got a Z in it. I don't remember. Strip. I think that strips out some. Oh, no, comments. I can't remember what it strips out, but in LTO's link time optimization. Let's just compile this again. I just want to see if remove. What's it before? 766, wasn't it? 7677. I'll kick 766. Yeah, that's right. I don't think if clap used, I don't think it should make a difference, should it? Not expected it. In fact, I didn't use it in actual main, so I don't think it. This is on a 5 or 6 year. Quite a process. i5. Right, you can see this run. So it did the 42, which was 8 value. This was the 8e string value. This was the, so the JSON value. We'll just go and look at the size of the binary and go and look at documentation, and we'll actually ask a few questions as to whether you should use, when you should, why you should use. Stay tuned for that if you've got nothing better to do. I will show you. There's a video of a man benchmarking. Well, and it's not looking too good at the moment, but it's bigger. What the? Let's check. Oh. All I did was I removed up. Now it's big. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Oh, that's a mystery question. If anybody didn't change anything else in cargo, so I didn't change anything. Right. Let's look at. So this is the documentation for Surrealkv. So public Surrealkv. Last updated 2 days ago, as of 28th of September. Low level version embedded ACID compliant key level database for Rust. Apache 2 support list. So 260 stars already. Quick. It's not. Just curious. Working on it down here, aren't they? 6. That's a Toby Morgan Hitchcock. Avoid on this. %, 99.9. The version low level persistent. Yes, so it's persistent because it's well, because I set it to it doesn't have to be. Multiple items inserted, updated, or deleted simultaneously. These transactions are applied atomically, so that means either they work completely or they don't work at all. This makes updates visible until they are. Okay, so this was what I didn't know about. Serializable snapshot isolation to prevent concurrent. That was, if you remember, with the options. Oh, what did we choose? Serializable snapshot isolation. Serialize prevent transactions. Durability. Surrealkv ensures durability by persisting data on disk, protecting against data loss in the event of failure. Multi-version concurrency control starts this current read without blocking. Project is actively evolving. As such, there might be changes to the file format, API, and future release. The good thing about Rust is if you can get it working now and you can compile it and it works, well, yeah, it might be if it's like let's look at some use cases, because if you were writing something, say for things, then you might never need to come and change it. So if it compiles today, fine. Surreal could be a strong fit for Internet of Things. Sensor readings, status updates, and processed and stored locally. That's the key. Atomic transactions again. Don't want something half working. First thing it was I asked it to suggest a good first use. It said was blockchain-based centralized application DApp or smart contract platform where each contract or state transition requires high throughput and strict guarantee. I don't entirely agree with it. I think, for instance, if you're familiar with Bitcoin, they use RocksDB, which was produced by Google. Obviously, yeah. This is for small to medium-sized database purposes, I think. I was going to say, there's a video on YouTube. I can't remember who. I think Conti, I think it is. He's been benchmarking Surrealkv against RocksDB and so on. And obviously, what I've showed you is so still relatively new. I mean, first 7 months ago was probably the created of it. Yeah, some of the benchmarking on YouTube isn't that flattering for Surrealkv, but I think for the use case, forget about the blockchain. I think for the IoT, it would be excellent. Just given that it's so easy to compile it within the code, I added one line there, which if you're using Postgres or whatever, you have to specify a database. Then to actually use it, you just set it up with these 2 lines, really. I know Rocks. I think is it TIKV and RocksDB work quite nicely inside Surreal as well. So let's just do some more research on trust AI. SurrealDB is designed to be run in many different ways. Here we go. So you've got KV mem, so it's just memory value. RocksDB, Foundation DB, TIKV. I think, yeah, that's for a cluster distributed. And I believe that, I'm not sure, don't quote me on it, but I thought I read that this can actually, I saw a result of Google that said it can be distributed, not database data. See the data, you've got the controller, and then you've got kind of the back end, the data. This was for RealDB engine local. So this was for the temporary database, so to speak. Okay. In most of the Surreal examples, well, all the other ones I've ever looked at, apart from Surrealkv, namespace, but there's no namespace with Surrealkv. So much of the syntax is obviously we've got the set and the get, whereas the rest of the Surreal pretty much uses select, query, select and comment. Yeah, so the benchmarking doesn't look amazing for doing sort of billions. I don't know if it would pair favorably at the moment with some fastest database, but I wouldn't choose this just personally for outright speed. I'd choose it because so earlier it compiles down to. I'm sticking with 766 KB because I don't know. I'll get it back to 76. If I did it once, I'll be able to. I don't know how I can add clap, remove clap, and then it's lower. Surrealkv. There we go. That's no, not. There is a stream on YouTube with somebody benchmark. Test the data modeling and performance. It's like there somewhere. If you go on YouTube, you'll find there's a man benchmarking embedded databases. I forgot to look at the issue. 10 issues. A bit unfair to kind of see too many flaws because it's so new and it's free and it's fast and it's got a lot of pros. So let's see what they're working on. Tokyo Reliance. At the moment, these are the only few things that indicates Tokyo requirement. Async mutex should be able to be replaced. Okay. Delete a range of. That sounds like something. Yeah. This video is turning into a poor man's version of the Primogen, isn't it? Where he just reads other people's stuff and kind of agrees with it or passes on some wisdom. But so I'm sorry if I'm not passing on much wisdom, but sometimes if you rather than sit up at a desk and do research yourself, it's frequencies inside the lights, isn't it? That's above my pay grade, but I understand the words, but when they're all together, I don't. S3 FIFI. Okay. OFS. Origin private file system. Seeing WASM there just reminded me to just let's go and actually look at Surrealkv in general. Look at the products they got now, because when I first started looking, it was Surrealkv and I think Surrealql, the kind of the query language. This SurrealML has appeared. An engine at 61 thing. Well, so that's obviously the Unix principle. Store and execute trained ML models. SurrealML does not intrude on the training frameworks out there and works with these. Oh, 'cause I was assuming this would be a vector database product offering, but SurrealML is an engine that seeks to do one thing. A bit. On SurrealML will be able to train them on those in framework Python, save their model, load execute the model in Python fast. Wow. So you can train it in Python, save it, and execute. Train it in Python fast. To be honest, when you run models with Python, Python's not really the bottleneck. So as much as I'm pro Rust, I'm not really anti-Python. Anti-Python, sound like Monty Python. The inference engine is composed of Python bindings interacting with. This means the exact same code that Python client running on a production by itself or a database, while the SurrealML engine runs in the database. It's developed completely isolated GitHub repository, giving you freedom on and so I'm thinking, is this like something similar to what Hugging Face does, where you could run a model, call a model that's actually running on Hugging Face? That's it, but scalation. I think with all the AI hype, you get kind of distracted by it and actually get the ML. And there's a lot of I don't know, Christian Mayer Python one-liners. I read that 2 or 3 years ago, and 3 years ago, and it came out 2 years. There's some good chapters on there on linear regression, logistic regression, KNN, clustering, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, so on. So yeah, this is all good stuff, really. House price prediction. Sure, they've got the data set, a link to download the data set somewhere here. It's almost impossible to avoid Docker now. Not that you'd want to, but if you've not got much Docker knowledge, it's probably worth your time, because it's kind of so prevalent that at least enough not Docker knowledge to get by would be. Even if you only know Docker PS. I don't think I've got anything running, but sometimes you have stuff running. Sometimes you have stuff running, and it's it's taking up resources. and it's also taking up disk space. This is a fairly new install, so I've got quite good. I've used 72 out of 11, so I'm happy with that. So that's the ML stuff, and I know I'm kind of waffling on a bit now because I'm just sort of doing a guided tour of the real website, which you not really adding any value to this video. But the only thing I would say is Onyx. I call it Onyx. I don't know what's called ONNX. Ports. If you have problems installing PyTorch or libPytorch, I did because when I was trying to install PyTorch, I had some way around. Maybe I was trying to do a Rust project, as it was Rust and not Python. I think it was telling me to install libtorch, which is obviously the C library that PyTorch probably references anyway. I don't know. Don't quote me on. Anyway, I couldn't install libtorch. I've had like thousands of compile errors. It was taking forever each time I tried to compile it. I was using make and configure with this. Then I found fast embed, which was what led me to learn about Onyx. I'm calling it ONNX, and that's a great alternative to PyTorch and libtorch, basically. So it's standard format for storing machine learning weights, and Onyx with fast embed. If you want, I probably should in another database whilst talking about Surreal, but Quadrant, the other one which fast embed, and I think Quadrant, right, fast embed, or they maintain it. That also uses it. So yeah, if you ever run into PyTorch or libtorch errors, try so ONNX times C or inference calculation. So that's the Surreal ML side of things, which I need to get a second. I need to handle. Not actually a vector data. Does Surreal do? Sorry if that. I just that made it. I don't know. I don't know if such a vector. I thought I thought Surreal did. RealDB supports full text search on vector search. It's not vector search. As an embedding table, this field will store vector embeddings of. Oh, so is it like a hybrid? Searching on goods and doing a vector search. You add an embeddings vectors. In the example above, you can see the results are more accurate. Search pulled up only this. This is the advantage of vector search over. Okay, here we go. How to install embeddings. Oh, so you define a field within data dedicated to hold vector data. It's not an out-and-out specialist vector database. don't know if that's a, I guess pros and cons, isn't there? If you morph, if you can have a rate, you could use Surrealkv as a regular database and add embeddings later on. You need to be running Surrealkv version 2 or higher to use the vector and K is like the number of neighbors. 6 near. Surrealist is, I've done a couple of videos on that. Like not the sandbox, but it's like the playground where you do stuff. I haven't loaded a database, so so you can add a data set from that drop down now. So we've got a data set. Selects the seller name results. Okay. Look at the scheme or look at the tables. Quite neat. I think this is fairly new. Oh, it was that only because of I'm a bit rusty on the actual SQL side of things. I just wanted to have another look at the API side of things. So RealDB CLI, you can only sign in by a route. Not supported. Wow. Probably need to come back to that when I'm ready to use it in projects, but it's all there. And Surrealkv, approximately 800 kilobytes for a tiled program. It does value stuff. I don't think that would grow dramatically if I added quite a lot more. If I added a few options. Obviously, I've just done set and get, but you want to look at the docs. I'm sure there's right, isn't it? So 8 and patch or whatever. If you don't get any value from this other than this, then hopefully there's this. I didn't. These values I did. And also, I only got that by trial and error and just seeing what the options were. She writing the code. ChatGPT docs didn't show you what I did. Store, go. I guessed I needed new. Okay. Thanks for watching. I know it's dragged on a bit, but hopefully it's just shown a few. If you're watching this in the future, in say 2025, at least you'll see that I've gone on GitHub and you'll see that I've gone on the real website and you'll understand that what I've done accurate at the time. And if you did want to just actually stick with these versions and copy my code, I'll put the code in. I'll put the link to code description. Copy it, compile it, do what you want, but at least you'll know that these versions work together. If you use these dependents, but if you hard code these in cargo.toml, you'll know that code that I've provided. If you, in the future, and you're trying to use my code with Surreal 0.3.9 in it, oh, then work. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll do probably a more normal video. I just wanted to capture on my mind, and while it was while it's relatively unique, I don't. There's the man who's done the benchmarking. Can't beat just watching some old geezer, middle-aged bloke, actually write the code and get it working and compile it and show you the options, especially when it's in near of him, because yeah, I won't go there. I did that. I did the questionnaire, and I think it was 45% of people code, 25%, 23% use of him, 23% use Rust Rover. Something. Apologies if that's just come to 1%. Get the idea. It was something like, it was those sort of proportions. It was basically almost half used VS Code, and then around about a quarter used. And some people were saying about Helix and stuff. So, yeah. But thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, code in the